One of the things we talk a lot about is if you're not working your joints, then your muscles aren't going to work properly. If I'm only using my muscles, then my joints aren't going to work properly, and it's a give and take between the two.
Ryan Beckwith, founder of A3 Sports Performance and Athletes Advantage Academy, is a seasoned athletic coach with nearly 20 years of experience. How do you get the athletes all to improve their mindset?
First and foremost, everything's positive. In every movement, regardless of any correction that is needed, something's going well.
Getting that central nervous system engaged, how you teach that to athletes here?
We ask them, well, do you know how fast your central nervous system works? So when we learn that and we learn how to use it, now it's not so much about thinking in the sport, you learn to react and trust what's happening in front of you, right?
Do you feel it's valuable for athletes to know to help them get that edge?
Gosh.
Today on our pod, we have Ryan. He's the owner of A3 Sports Performance. This is where he trains elite athletes from pro level all the way down to the youth level. And he has a lot of experience going from strength and conditioning at UCLA, much more than we're going to talk about today, because I'm going to link all of that down below so you can listen in on his experiences. But today I want to gain valuable insight for you guys to make sure you guys know how to get to that next level, to get that edge in your performance. So Ryan, let's talk about that.
Cool.
Let's jump right in.
Yeah, let's go. All right.
You do this day in, day out. You
Yep.
see every level of athlete.
Yeah.
How do you get that athlete who's spending hours in the gym to translate, to have a skill transfer, to actually have performance-based results in the game?
It is so much more than what most people think. You know, we watch YouTube, we watch ESPN, we watch whatever it is, whatever content we're watching, right? And we see the Jalen Hurts and we see the Usain Bolts and we see all these different people that are just outside of the norm of what we see on an everyday basis. What we don't see, though, is the back end. And I think that's the biggest missing component is two major things. Is the mindset, the positive self-talk is an absolute got to have it. And then there has to be an aspect of training beyond the proprioceptive side. So not just the physical side. We got to talk about the vision, and we got to talk about the vestibular side, how those interact before we even get to the side of the proprioceptive side, which is the typical stuff, the strength, the conditioning. How do all of these things interact together? That's the elite stuff that we need to talk about that most people just don't do.
Yeah, you definitely don't hear about this.
No.
And
no.
You might hear about it in other places, but here in our valley, you're one of the few that I've even heard talk about this. So can we deeper dive into this?
Sure.
So let's say you have a promising high school athlete who now has been instructed to see you.
Okay.
Where would you start from integrating that proprioceptive, visual, vestibular, and the mental mindset component to help them achieve these results?
I mean, it honestly starts day one. They come in and we actually do a one-on-one interview with them, just to kind of see where their head is, what their expectations are, and really what their experience is. From there, that's when we start getting into the nitty-gritty. First things first, when they walk in, our warm-up integrates this stuff. So we're going like ankle mobility, knee mobility, hip mobility. We're going into the vision stuff. We're going into, depth perception and things like that before we even do anything.
Right.
And so what gets misconstrued a lot is, the idea of the dynamic warm-up. Let's use that as a base. That for a lot of people is the cutting edge thing, stretching while moving. And I look at that as it's getting to a point where, that stuff's 20, 30 years old at this point. Right.
Can you give an example of a dynamic warm-up
Sure, like,
that's common?
We're doing high knee pulls and walking quad stretches and lateral lunge rotations and hamstring stretches, figure fours, things like that, going into the walking A's and the A skips, fundamental movements.
Right.
20 to 30 years ago, that was like, what are you doing? I remember when I was at UCLA, our soccer team, we travel all around. We did it with football too, but the soccer was where we got the really weird looks because we would go around the country and we would do these warm-up, this new style of warming up, not just stand there and touch toes. We were actually moving and stretching, and people are looking at us like we're crazy. And this is back in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003. And now my coaches and I will have a conversation and we're talking about, that's a small percentage of what we do because we have to hit the joints and we have to hit the vision. One of the things we talk a lot about is if you're not working your joints, then your muscles aren't going to work properly, right? But if I'm only using my muscles, then my joints aren't going to work properly. And it's a give and take between the two.
Right.
But then on top of that, if I'm not working my spatial awareness and my depth perception and my vestibular system, then the other two aren't going to work anyway. Right? Not to the capacity that we want them to. And I think that's where you and I are getting to is that elite component. Like, I'm not saying if you don't use this stuff, you're not going to be good. You're still going to be pretty good. You're not going to be optimal though for you.
Right.
And that's really what it comes down to is we all have different fields of vision. We all have different fields of balance, and we all have different fields of speed or strength or flexibility, mobility. But how do you integrate all of those things to optimize them for you?
Right. And that's how you get the optimization is working all of that. So you start day one.
Absolutely.
Where you're analyzing how are the mobility throughout the body, how's the visual system, the vestibular component, and then from there you dictate a personal plan for them to move forward and get success? Yeah.
And so with our group training, so we have small group training is one of our major things for that group of people, for the athlete, the competitive athlete. And so the way they're built out at different levels. So I think I was telling you earlier, we have, from rookie to prep to intermediate to advanced. And then on the advanced side, we have speed and agility, and we have strength, and we have both sides of it. So we have different training components, and they're all designed in-house. We do all of the work, all of the design, everything. And so it really depends on the kid and the level. And then through that assessment is what helps us place them in the proper group.
Okay.
Right. So it's, you might be 15 years old, but maybe you've never done speed training or weightlifting. So that doesn't mean that you need to be up in the advanced level going through super intense modules.
Right.
Start down intermediate. Let's get a fundamental base here. Learn how to move properly with load, because that's by far the most important thing. I don't care if you can get to 90 degrees today.
Right.
We're not going to cheat it. And this is a whole other conversation for another day, but we're not going to go toes out, knees out, because that doesn't serve you as an athlete.
Right.
We've got to learn how to get into the position with the proper mobility and the proper movement at the right time with the right load. So that's highly dependent on the person.
Wow. Okay. So it's personalized, but you have a group coaching aspect to it.
Yep.
Did you guys do it like that because of ease with training, or did you guys do it like that because there's a competitive edge when there's a group involved?
Always the competitive edge side. It's a safe environment, and really once it gets to about 8 to 10 athletes is when we consider bringing in a second coach, so that we have eyes on everybody all the time, because it is a fast moving independent thing, right? So each kid might move a hair differently, so we've got to keep eyes on you and make sure that you're getting the right coaching. But you're right, the mindset side of things is super important, right? You've got to be able to train within the ears while there's distractions going on. So like the visual drill we were doing, there's diverted attention, right? Like I've got to be able to focus on my deadlift, my squat, my this, my that, while other things are going on, while there's music on, while there's this, while there's that. Show me a competition outside of golf where everybody's being quiet around you. But even when that happens, you got thousands of eyes on you.
Yeah.
The silence can be a killer. Right.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to train around the stimulus, and that's really important.
Yeah. On that note, it just brings me back to the golf component. If you watch Ryder Cup this weekend.
Oh my gosh.
No one was quiet.
No, I think that Netflix documentary changed that real quick, didn't it?
Yeah. And the chanting this past weekend was creative.
Yeah. to say the least. Right. Absolutely.
So that group environment, you'll have some athletes who have a better mindset than others. Mm-hmm. So how do you get the athletes all to improve their mindset? Now, I know you're not a mindset coach per se, but you have a holistic approach here. Yeah. And that's what I really like, because we don't see that a lot. We see a lot of professional athletes will have experts in each domain, right?
Yeah, right.
They'll have a vision expert. They'll have a neurocognitive expert. They'll have a PT who's helping them with balance and proprioception. Then they'll have a mindset coach. And then they'll have a nutrition coach. But college level athletes or even some semi-pro athletes are not going to have access to all of that.
Right.
So you guys like to have this holistic approach. So how do you work on the mental game while they're here?
First and foremost, everything's positive. Everything. In every movement, regardless of any correction that is needed, something's going well.
Yeah.
We got to talk about that first. We got to get the athlete locked in on what they're doing from a positive standpoint so that they know they're being seen. Right? There's a confidence to that. Then if there's a correction needed, then we give the correction, right? But one of the issues that I had as an athlete, and I think many of us did, is the first thing ever said to us was, don't do that. Focus on this.
Right.
Make sure you're doing that. Lift that up faster. I mean, we know now. I mean, science has shown us year after year after year after year after year, there's no benefit in that, right? So we really got to get to a point that we don't control playing time here, right? There has nothing to do with that.
Right.
This is strictly about making you a better athlete, a better human, a more confident human. So every aspect of what you do in here has to revolve around that. It's about the positivity. And all of our coaches, if you walk down there right now, you'll see it. From an adaptive athlete to a professional athlete, everything that we're doing out there is about building the confidence of the person.
And that's huge, right? The confidence aspect. If someone's confident internally, not fake confidence, not just speaking to the mirror, I am confident,
right,
but internally confident, then that will play a role in success.
Absolutely.
Right? Whether that's on the field or in a professional environment as well.
Right. And we talk about it, right? Everything we do here, so whether we're lifting, we're running, we're changing directions, we're doing core, whatever, no matter how obscure it is, how can you put your mind into the activity that is suited for you? So whether that's golf, whether that's ballet, whether that's football, whether that's just being a CEO somewhere, I don't know what, whatever that is for anybody. If I can put my mind into that boardroom or into that field or onto that stage, I've already been there.
Right.
I've positively been there. Yeah. I've had success there because I was thinking about it, and it was drilled into me to think about it while I was doing a unilateral squat followed by a lunge jump. I'm never going to do that in the boardroom. I'm probably not going to do that in ballet, but I've been there mentally.
Right. And
that is what's really, really important, is to constantly go through the drill, because if I can put you through that, and let's say, within that workout, we went on top of the warm up, and the workout, all the prep work we do, the CNS primers that we do, and into the cool down, maybe you've done 500 to 800 reps plus. You just had 800 reps of positivity in your brain about the things that you do when stress happens.
Right.
Right. And when stress happens, all we can do is react to the way we've trained ourselves to react. So why aren't we practicing that every day in everything that we do?
Right. We should be. Yeah.
Right.
So you're developing reps for confidence.
Absolutely.
And that is the carryover. That's the transfer effect, not only on the field, but in life.
Right.
That's amazing. 800 reps for self-confidence.
Let's say, right?
I mean, it sounds much better than talking to yourself in a mirror.
Yeah. And a lot of times it's math, right? It's logic. So if I get 8 hours of sleep a night, hopefully, I'm awake for 16 hours. Well, through the week, that's 112 hours. Check my math, but pretty sure right there, 112 hours. But if I'm in the weight room or speed training or whatever, and let's say I did that, let's go broad strokes here and say I did that for 8 hours. That's a lot of training outside of practice, right? 8 hours is a lot of training. Let's add practice into that. So let's say I practiced 2 hours a day. I had 4 practices throughout the week outside of competition. Okay, so I've got another 16 hours. That's 24 hours. I've been awake for 112. Yeah. What happened in those other hours? What did you do? Did you mentally prep for everything? Or did you only leave it in the weight room and only leave it at practice?
Right.
Were you building reps constantly to have that inner dialogue with yourself where everything is positive? And if it's not, did you correct it?
Right.
Because when stress happens, you only got one thing to resort back to. And that's what you have practiced and what, the reps you've given yourself throughout time.
So for someone who struggles with that, let's say outside of your positive environment, and they go into an environment where things are not so positive. Let's say life is not so positive. They have other struggles with parents, with economics. How would you promote them to try to still have that positivity despite all the struggles that they have going on?
A lot of times it's just framing it easily. Right. So let's use basketball. Right. So I'm going to shoot a free throw. Right. When I miss a free throw, let's say I miss to the right. Well, what most people will do is say, don't miss right. Don't miss right. Don't miss right. Well, what did I just see? Right. My brain doesn't speak language. It speaks symbols. So when I say something to myself, that's what I'm going to visualize. Okay. So simply elbow in, snap the wrist. I know when I do that, I finish, I make the shot.
Right.
So same thing. I mess up on a test. Someone yells at me, I internalize it. Ryan, why'd you do that? Right? Instead of thinking like that, it's, Ryan, what could I have done different? How do I change this? What's the positive? It's reframing, right?
Reframe the negative.
Absolutely. And that we talk about that constantly. right? We see a kid react a certain way, we immediately step in and we say something. It's never going to be perfect. Who's perfect? Nobody's perfect. Right. And we notice it out here, and our coaches are trained to see that stuff, right? They're very, very good. Our coaches are very intuitive and very empathetic about that. So we're watching that happen all the time. And, again, does everybody come from the perfect family? No. Does everybody have the perfect setup financially? No. Does everybody have the perfect surrounding team around them? No. Yeah. Right? So we give them, in every opportunity that we can be around them, the chance to be positive, how to reframe, how to rethink. Ones that are really, driven to move on, I start giving them books. I want them to read.
Learn.
Right?
Learn it yourself.
But you're also absorbing stuff in the same way outside of here. You're on your own. You're by yourself. You're reading this book about it. Right? How to mentally prepare, how to go through these things. There's a ton of books like that go into that aspect of how to recover properly. Matter of fact, my decathlon coach wouldn't coach me when he first took me on unless I read Relax and Win by Bud Winter.
Really? Mm-hmm. So that was homework assignment 1 before you could start.
Right, because his point was we could train, and I was a decathlete, so we trained 3 sessions a day, and we did a lot. Like, I was in the weight room super early. Then we'd go 3 events on top of, running and everything else.
Right.
And he said, look, we can do all the training you want, but if you're not going home and recovering and getting sleep and doing the things you need to do to be ready for the next training session, what's the point? And I've taken that with me. It's at the elite level. I think that's something that gets missed. People talk about the amount of money that LeBron James spends on his body, but they don't understand.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's LeBron James. It's like, well, you don't have to spend $2 million on yourself to be able to do that. He just has the ability to do it. But are there things that you could be doing mentally, from a sleep perspective, from a nutrition perspective? Are there things that you could do on your own to make sure that the hours you're putting in the gym or at practice are beneficial to you? Yes, 100%.
And that's a huge edge, right? Let's get into that.
Yeah.
How do you balance the intensity of exercise and recovery?
Yeah.
And how do you have, because a lot of athletes that I see, their nutrition is fast food, Taco Bell, McDonald's, KFC, and they're doing this after an amazing workout with a trainer. Yeah. And then they're eating like garbage.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that? And not only the nutrition aspect, but all of recovery. Is that something you guys talk about? Quick segment break, but you're going to want to hear this. If you're an athlete, coach, or parent, and you want faster reaction, this is where we start. This is called vector ball. This ball unpredictably bounces and it changes colors, red, green, or blue. We use this to sharpen the reaction time, focus, and coordination. And here's what makes it different. Whenever you see a different color, you can assign it to left, right, pass, shoot, adding a cognitive load, meaning that frontal lobe, while you're moving around, is making faster decisions. We use this with athletes every week, and we hardwire this decision making. Train your brain, train your eyes, dominate your game. Grab the vector ball in the link in the bio or scan this QR code to get started. Let's get back to it.
We talk about it a lot, actually. It's hard though, because you don't go home with the athlete, right? So there's only so much you can control. You give them as much information as you can. You give them guidance when they ask. But, unless you're a professional athlete, like we were talking about earlier, that has all of these different people integrated into your daily life, it is very hard. And the best thing you can do is educate, right? And we talk about this. Like, if I were to go to Chipotle, let's say, and at this point with a burrito bowl and chips and guac and a drink, I'm pushing $20 at this point, right? And that's one meal.
Right.
Okay, so if I'm an athlete on a budget and I start doing the math, and I say, okay, well, how much money are you spending throughout the week getting Chipotle and then going to wherever you're going, after practice, whatever, on your way home? I mean, you could theoretically be spending anywhere from $20 to $50 a day.
Yeah.
Right?
On the lower side.
But we're struggling financially. Well, yeah, you just spent $250 on 8 meals because you went out, right? Versus, can I take that $250 and go to Trader Joe's or go to some local market that you have near you and start meal prepping? Now, is that easy? No, it's not easy. But if you make time and you start time blocking yourself, just like you do when you train, right? Practice is this long, weights are this long.
Right.
Where's your homework happening? Okay, where's your self-work happening, right? It's learning the blocks, right? Blocks of time. And there are things that you're going to have to eliminate But again, when we start getting into the percentages of people that make it beyond high school, that then make it to the pro level, you've got to find that fine tuning at some point. And I really think that, we talk about this all the time. Going to college for sports, fantastic goal. That's great. Trying to be a pro, that's great. But sports are going to end at some point. What did you learn from them?
Right.
Who are you when they're done, and can you carry them over? Because one of the biggest disservices that I've seen in my career is that you have all these people that have made it to the professional level, and then what?
Right.
Who are they? They're struggling financially, they're struggling emotionally, especially because their identity is caught up in the fact that they're an athlete. Well, they're no longer an athlete, and now their identity doesn't exist anymore.
Right. And
that's a problem. Right?
Have you seen that a lot with your past students?
Students, teammates, friends. And for me here, that's one of my biggest things that I want to talk to these kids about. What we're doing here, if you are lucky enough, if you are fortunate enough to be able to use this tool to pay for your college or even get you in, may not pay for it, but at least get you into it.
Right.
Maybe you get a professional career out of it. Maybe you're a coach. Maybe you're a doctor. Maybe you're an eye doc. Maybe, who knows, right? It got you somewhere. That's what it is. It is a tool.
Right.
Because at some point it will end physically because you're going to age out. So what have you done to prepare yourself for that moment?
Right.
That's what it's about.
Because you built habits. You built discipline.
Exactly.
You built your ability to make changes in your body and your mindset.
Right.
Now all that you can carry through professionally or in whatever capacity you want it to.
Right. And then think about aging, right? So this is another whole other podcast we can get into, right? But when you look at aging and I'm getting in, I'm 46, right? So I'm pushing 50 now. So you get 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. Well, what happens typically? Atrophy, right? We are losing muscle mass. We're losing the ability to move through space. But what if when I was younger and I was going through my athletic career, I was taught all this stuff about my visual system and depth perception and my vestibular system and balance and joint mobility and range of motion. And instead of just thinking about flexibility from a stretching standpoint of going home and stretching my hamstrings, well, what if I was doing the ankle mobility and the hip mobility one on top of the other of my hamstrings so that I can be more mobile?
Right.
What if I knew that going into it, right? And those simple practices of understanding the depth perception and the vestibular system and how my balance works and, how my spine works. And, there's so many little intricacies that we could talk about. But if I'm equipped with that going into my elder years,
right,
I'm going to have a much more functional time outside of catastrophic injuries and things that I've had to go through.
And you have a better golf game.
You have a much better golf game. Absolutely.
But let's dive into that central nervous system stuff that you're hinting at. Because that's one of the big reasons why I'm here is you had some content out there that was really talking about getting that central nervous system engaged, primed. And that way you're not only reducing injuries, getting the mobility better, but you're also enhancing your performance. So let's talk about how you teach that to athletes here.
So first, what we like to tell the kids is, we ask them, well, do you know how fast your central nervous system works? Like, do you have any idea? Like from head to toe?
Yeah.
And they're like, no. I said, we're talking over 260 miles an hour, right? So if I'm 6 feet tall, simple math, and I go from miles to hours to seconds, it could be 20 plus times from here to there in a second.
Yeah.
So when we learn that and we learn how to use it, now it's not so much about thinking in the sport. You learn to react and trust what's happening in front of you, right? So, a lot of times you're watching professional sports because it's probably, from a human perspective, it's one of the best gauges that we can watch to see what the human body's capable of.
Yeah.
So when we're watching professional sports and you watch somebody look like they're predicting what it's about to happen, no, their central nervous system has primed them to be ready to look at your hips and go, oh, yeah, he's doing this, but I can see based on everything else my peripheral vision is on. I know that there's not a gap over here. I know that there's something over here. He's shifting this way to get me to go there. And you're not thinking that.
No.
You're seeing it and you're reacting to it. So I'm already in the gap that you're trying to go to. You're done, right? So there's so many drills that we can do to help prime that central nervous system. And we do that in our training. Let's use running as an example.
Okay.
Change of direction. Because we can, even when we talk about rotational forces in golf, right? Everything is based on what our nerves are communicating to the brain.
Right.
Right. So foot position, we'll use a very simple one. If I'm hitting the outside wall of my foot when I run, I'm jamming that part of my ankle out here, which the nerve that travels through that actually communicates into my hamstring and my glute up to my brain. So again, it goes back to the idea we were talking about. If we're not recovering, we're not getting optimal performance out of ourselves. If I'm not priming my visual system, I'm not getting optimal performance out of myself. If I'm jamming my ankle, creating a kink in the hose, essentially, I'm not getting optimal results out of my hamstrings and my glutes, which in a large part, when I'm changing direction, those are my braking forces.
Right.
So if I'm not turning those on, I am going to have issues. Now, again, can the blind eye just see that? Can the general person watch an NBA player and go, oh man, they didn't do their ankle drills today?
Yeah.
Probably not, right?
Right.
But at the same time, if we look at injury rates and things that are going on right now, is that a component to it?
Right.
I believe so.
Like the Achilles injuries that we're seeing in NBA.
Achilles, the ACLs, when you start looking at these things, there's a major component to CNS priming, in my opinion. It's what I believe in my training. There's a CNS priming aspect to it. There's a visual system aspect to it. There's a type of shoe wear that you have when you train, right? Everything that we do is a reactionary force. Everything.
Wow. Yeah.
So if I'm not priming everything all the time, what am I doing?
Right.
I'm not optimal.
Yeah. Was there a topic you wanted to talk about after the priming stuff? Like something you feel is valuable for athletes to know to help them get that edge?
Gosh, there's so many.
There's so much, but
yeah.
Let's do one more big topic.
I think one of the things that kids miss the most, and it's a big deal right now, is the technology and sleep.
Okay.
Like when we're talking about it, because it does affect your visual system too, right?
Yeah.
That, when Harvard came out with that study about the dark side of blue light and all those kind of things. Well, what I think
I can definitely get into that. I love that stuff.
See, I would love to hear your side of that.
Okay.
Because then, we start talking about, again, depth perception being affected, right?
Yeah.
So myopathy is happening now.
Yeah.
And we're going this all the time. And then
I'm going to get into a lot of that.
Right.
I'm a -12.
So you want it as an athlete, and I use the same logic of time. If I'm only practicing for 5 hours a week, but I'm on my phone 5 hours a day,
Yeah.
well, what is my brain going to resort to?
Yeah.
Right? The thing
huge.
that I showed is more valuable, which is time.
Right. Yeah.
So-
That's a big one.
And I think there's all of that is a component. When we talk about Achilles and knees and everything, I think that's a big part of it too.
If you had to pick and I know that's a big one, but if you had to pick another gap where we have a athlete who has the components, meaning has the agility, has all the components to be great, but it has a gap in their mindset. How would you help them with that gap in the mindset? Because you see this probably day in, day out.
Yeah.
Very good athletes that you would expect to go pro, you would expect to go D1, and then they don't make it.
Yeah.
What do you feel like holds a lot of people back?
There's so many answers to that.
Okay.
But I think one of the biggest issues I think gets ignored is they're still kids. And regardless of how amazing they are as athletes, regardless of their prowess on the field or the court or the track or whatever it might be, they're still kids.
Right.
And they're not mature enough yet in most cases to handle what's about to happen. Right. And they're walking into an institution that is largely built on the commercialization of sport. And, even the kids that are coming from the large Southern California private schools or the Texas schools or the Florida IMGs, it's not like the NFL is filled with, or the NBA or Major League Baseball is filled with kids only from IMG.
Right.
Right. There's only a handful of them.
Yeah.
So there's a component there that I think we miss, that we take for granted, that, neurologically, they're still not there. They're not completely developed yet. So you can give them the best weight room experience and the best track experience, speed experience. You can give them the nutritional education, but was their confidence fostered? Right? Were they given the opportunity to just be a kid and be open? right? I think that's the thing and I felt that way. I mean, you're guarded, I'm supposed to be tough. I'm supposed to be the one that doesn't get hurt or doesn't cry, doesn't care, nothing affects me. I don't get emotionally involved. All those things are the expectations put on you.
Yeah.
But they're still kids, man. And they haven't learned that yet. And I think when you talk about making it beyond, right, it still comes down to the environment you were in, who you know, and what opportunities were given to you.
Right.
It's the ones that were at the right place at the right time with the right confidence at the right time to accept the opportunity that was in front of them to be able to walk through that door to go to the next door.
Yeah.
And that doesn't always happen. And it's such a small percentage of people that actually get that opportunity that if you're not ready at the moment that it happens, and it's the same thing. Were you ready to take that shot?
Right.
Did you step wrong? Did you not?
Right.
Was the ball in the right place on your hand to make that shot? Did you run the right route? Did you hit the pin? Right. I could go on and on with all these different sports, right?
Right.
It's about that singular opportunity that happens in a competition. But it's taking that and getting these kids to understand it's all relative.
Right.
Because that's going to happen in life too.
Because you might not get that opportunity again.
Maybe
it might just be one time.
It might.
Yeah.
Or it might present itself in a different way.
Different fashion. Professional or...
Are you ready to go?
Yeah. Or to be a coach or to open your gym and whatnot.
Yeah. And I tell kids kind of a funny story on the side note. When I was at UCLA, I was actually in the marketing department. So I finished at Georgia, got my master's degree. I was working in sports marketing.
Oh.
And I was down in the weight room with my roommate, who was one of the track coaches. We were working out. And the head strength coach knew my strength coach from Georgia. So we'd had a couple conversations and, we knew each other. So one day, and I tell kids all the time, never be afraid to ask. Ever. Just speak up and ask. Because what is the worst possible thing that could happen to you? If I ask you for a favor and you say no, that favor didn't exist 3 seconds before I asked you. Yeah. You said no, it still doesn't exist. What's the difference? But what if you say yes? Maybe that changes my life.
Right.
So that day, I'm in the weight room, and the head strength coach, he's leaving. He says, all right, guys, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to recruit. And I just blurted it out because I loved marketing, but I was a coach.
Right.
And I said, hey, you want to recruit someone to your staff? Just joking. Right. Because I was just thinking about it. And he goes, you serious? One of our coaches is leaving in a couple weeks. Come talk to me tomorrow. What? Right. And bam.
Right.
And that changed my career. And you just never know, right? So, and that's what I meant is that's a learned skill that I learned from a coach along the way. I don't know where I learned that, but it was definitely from just being in different environments. Right. Could it be from my background growing up in the military and moving every 2 years? Maybe. Right. Maybe a teacher gave that to me. I don't know. Right. But I pass that on as much as I can because you just never know what opportunity is waiting for you. Yeah. And if you're thinking it, then there's something there, right? There's a hidden passion. Maybe there's that wherewithal inside of you. Explore it. Yeah. Go for it. Because the worst thing that happens is it doesn't happen. Yeah.
And that's so true. I mean, I can intake that myself. So I saw David Beckham last week. Yeah. Had a meet and greet with him. That's cool. I really internally wanted to ask him, like, would you be on my podcast? Yeah. I really wanted to. Yeah. And I know that's taboo. And I know you're supposed to ask the agent. I really wanted to. But I didn't. Right. Because I was like, well, that's not the right way to go about it. Go through his agent, which I'm going to do. Yeah. And it's probably not going to pan out. Still going to ask.
But you never know.
But I would have never knew.
Yeah. But in the moment, right? He's a human. He's human. Yeah. All he could say is no.
If there's anything you take away from this podcast is don't be afraid to ask. Don't make the mistake I did. Don't be afraid to ask.
Absolutely.
That's huge. Yeah.
I mean, again, it goes back to that whole idea of when we're talking about progressing, if you have somebody that's trying to make it to the next level in anything that it is that they want to do, well, one, you got to do your own research, right? Yeah. You have to be passionate about it. The ones that are passionate about that thing, the ones that are willing to take the extra time, find the time, block the time, to figure out what it is that you're interested in to move forward into it. Yeah. That's step number one. Yeah. Right. blindly going into something doesn't always pan out. And then what if you mess up the opportunity? But at the case of what you're talking about with Beckham, it goes back to the same thing of what would we tell a kid that has everything they need to quote unquote make it.
Right.
But we don't know what's between their ears. We don't.
No.
Right. The kid is still a kid. Right. And that's where, like with Beckham's still a guy.
Yeah.
At some point, he did what you wanted to do to somebody else.
Right.
And they gave him an opportunity. Maybe that resonates with him. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I don't know David Beckham.
Right.
But, it's just one of those things. Again, if there is one thing that an athlete can take from this, it's find that thing that your gut is telling you to try. And I can take this from my own experience. I was a football guy. Football. And then I found myself run track a couple times. I did it in high school. And then I met the track coach in college. And then that happened. And then because of that, I ended up going from Cal State Northridge to the University of Georgia, going from the University of Georgia and then coaching there and then going to UCLA. And then I was training as a decathlete post-collegiately. Like if you would have told me when I was 16 years old that I would have been potentially training as a post-collegiate professional athlete in the decathlon, I would have thought you were nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like a decathlon, pole and javelin and shot put? No,
I'm a football player.
I play football, So again, it's just, it's being open to those ideas, right? But doing your research, can you do it?
Yeah.
Is it something you should do? And then go for it.
Yeah. The worst that I hear from athletes is, I don't have time for it. And that's not true. It's you're not making time for it because you don't value it. Or you don't value yourself enough to make time for it, whichever the two is.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the conversation we were having earlier. If you really dissect how many hours you have available to you, okay, well, let's negate out, I got to change my clothes, I got to eat food, I've got to drive to practice, I've got to drive home from practice, I've got to go to school. Okay, once I've done all that math, how many are left?
Right.
There's still time left. Check your phone. What's your screen time on your phone or your computer or your iPad? Now, we can't get it completely away from it. That is how our society is built. It's how our education is built, right? Got to be on the computer at some point doing your work.
Yeah.
But there are extra minutes. There are extra hours that are there. The hardest thing, and professional athletes will tell you this, even at the professional level, when all you really have to do is either train and be a family person,
right,
or just train. You got to have relationships, right? We're human. But what is going on in the downtime? What are you doing with your time?
Right.
Are you meal prepping? Are you reading? Are you developing your confidence? Are you developing your wherewithal? If you're not doing those things, your career is going to end sooner than it should.
Right.
And it's hard.
And your time needs to be valuable. Your time needs to mean something.
Right.
Money can come and go. Time can only go.
Right.
You can't get time back.
Yeah.
And so that's a concept that I think as you get wiser, as time has gone on, with at least, I can say from my experience, I value time so much more.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I would value more of the money aspect and be more, greedy in a sense. But if I look back, time is so much more valuable because that time that could have be spent on self-development rather than screen time, then doom scrolling, then, Netflix.
Right.
That time would have automatically converted to money and even more important, happiness.
Yeah.
Because most athletes are happiest when they're succeeding. And so if you are dedicating time to get more success, in the long run, you're going to be happier, right?
And I explain this a lot to the younger athletes, especially, to be successful prior to family, you've got to be selfish. And what I mean by that, and I don't mean be a jerk. That's not what I mean. I mean, be selfish with your time because it's yours. It's really one of the only things that we own is our time.
Right.
And what I mean by that is if I'm in high school, if I'm in college, there's a conscious decision to go out. There's a conscious decision to hang out with this person or that person. And if we're not taking the time to dissect the importance of that person, what can they do for me developmentally? What can this time do for me as far as progressing the things that I'm trying to do with the goals that I have? Then is it worth my time?
Right.
And, we kind of joke around about this. My wife and I do. I was just one of those, what most people would say was weird, because I didn't go out. I didn't want to. I didn't eat dessert when I was a kid. My dad would stop eating and eat dessert. I'm like, I don't want dessert. I want seconds. And I want thirds. I want to eat. I want food.
Right.
Because I want to work out.
How old were you?
I started in probably middle school.
Wow. You already knew.
I already knew. That's what I wanted. And for me, it was an opportunity to get out and do something different and have different experiences. And that was my path for me.
Yeah.
And when you can decide what that path is, maybe it's being a doctor. Maybe it's being a lawyer. Maybe it's being a construction worker. Maybe, who knows what it is. Maybe you're really handy. Chase it, man. Go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who cares what anybody says, and it really comes down to that thing that what can you do? And that's where, being selfish at the time before a family is involved. In my opinion, when you have done that and your identity isn't necessarily caught up in the thing, and I have done what I needed to do, it gives me the opportunity. Now we have 2 sons. We have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. And it now allows me to just focus on them.
Right.
I get asked, what sport are they going to play? I don't care.
Right.
Be good kids. You're going to be active and you're going to read, and they do Legos and we play outside. And the youngest one, we went fishing yesterday.
Yeah.
It allows them to be them and not me.
Right. You're not pushing your goals through them.
The only goal I have for them is to be respectful, learn, be educated, and just be true to yourself, and whatever that is. But a lot of that, to me, in my opinion, is because I've explored that side of myself.
Right.
And I've been disciplined enough to attack those types of goals that most people would think are unattainable.
Right.
And I went for it.
Yeah.
And because of that, I have a desire to continue to do that in other aspects now, and then give that wisdom to my athletes, to my kids, and anybody that I can come in contact with, because it is a hard thing. It's a lonely journey. It really is. It's lonely. Success is hard.
Right.
And I think one of the, in today's society with social media and television and everything that we have accessible to us, people think it's easy. And then you get smacked.
Yep.
Or you fall down.
Yep.
Or whatever. And then go, well, I guess I wasn't good enough. Yes, you were. That just wasn't the right opportunity for you.
Right.
Go another way.
Right. There's so much to that, and we can get deeper into that. But I think this is a good spot to end, because there's so much value in here that I want people to really absorb everything that you've said. And if there's 2 key takeaways here, is don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
If you feel it in your gut, it needs to come out. Another key aspect is the loneliness. With social media and everything. Studies are showing that athletes are more lonely than ever before. People are more lonely than ever before. Even though now you have access to all the information, you feel like you have access to more people.
All your friends.
Your likes, the followers.
Yeah.
But you're more lonely.
Yeah.
And so that's such a key component, is if you're an athlete and you feel lonely, reach out to one of us. Yeah. We will get you back on the right path one way or another. You need to find someone like Ryan, who's a trainer, who can guide you through the process of attaining what you want to attain through a holistic way, right? Yeah. Because if you want results, you need to be able to look at everything. You can't just hone in on one thing and just expect that you're going to be amazing by just doing this one thing. Nowadays, sports are they're just so competitive. Right. We have people training like pros at age 15. I mean,
Some are pros at 15.
Some are pros. You see the golfer who's who's competing against, he's 16 years old and he's beating out pro golfers. The level of competition we have seen the past decade is insane. Right. So you have to be able to, if you want to compete to that level, you have to be able to have an idea of what you need. Yeah. And so this is what this podcast is all about. So if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. And I want you to find someone like Ryan who can give you a holistic approach, engage every aspect of your system, the central nervous system, to help you reach that next level and that next edge. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Ryan, for spending time with me. And I know we're going to spend a few more minutes because I want to see more drills.
Yeah.
So we'll do more drills right now. But appreciate everyone. Thank you for listening.
Thanks for having me.